City Matters.
I'm your host, Richard Acritelli. This podcast is a production of the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center of Nassau County. On today's episode of The Fog of War and Humanity here on hmTV, my special guest is Joseph A. Cognitore, a former resident of Farmingdale and a graduate of that high school and a resident today of Rocky Point. Will join me for a conversation about his unique experience in serving during the Vietnam War and his many veterans' activities to support our armed forces for almost the rest of his life. Joe, here we go. Let's get started. Can you tell me what it was like to get drafted into the United States Army during the Vietnam War?
Well, it was a little tough because I had just graduated college and had planned on doing certain things like going to grad school, teaching, coming back to Farmingdale from South Dakota, where I went to college. And I had to take my physical in South Dakota, in Sioux Falls, and happened to pass. And it was a little tough.
Now, you were a pretty physical guy, right? Did you play any sports? What college did you go to?
Dakota Wesleyan University, Mitchell, South Dakota. I wrestled for a couple of years there and played club soccer and things like that.
Now, you were in pretty good shape for Uncle Sam?
I lived with a few of the guys on the teams, and we had weights right in our living room, so we worked that every day.
Now, what's that feeling that you could share of what it's like to get drafted?
Like I said, your whole world gets turned upside down, and it was a commitment. And at that time, a lot of guys were running to Canada and things like that. But all my uncles, my father, all World War II, and I definitely made a decision to meet my requirements.
Now, your father served at this time, right, in the Battle of the Bulge in Europe?
Yeah, he wasn't in the action of the Battle of the Bulge, but he was young enough that when he got in, they had already had gone into France, and he was in the rear of the action over there at some times, and he became an MP.
Did he ever talk to you about any of his experiences?
No, between him and all my uncles, not really. No, other than the fact that they said Patton should have kept going.
Yeah. Now, you knew they served, but not much.
Not much.
So it was probably surprising when they spoke to you, right?
Oh, yeah. And that was the way with most World War II veterans. When I went into the VFW in Rocky Point, I was like the second Vietnam vet that was at the post, and the majority were all World War II and Korean War vets. And they didn't say much at all about what they did. It wasn't until our 50th anniversary of the post that I did a book on the post and got them to go through some of their bios and where they served and what they do. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. One of the most decorated World War II vets lived right there in Miller Place. Nobody knew it. He was unbelievable what he did.
Who's that, Tony Antoniou?
Tony Antoniou, yep. Silver Stars, the Chevalier from France, Bronze Stars, Purple Heart.
Jumped twice, Night of Normandy, where the plane got beaten up so bad he had to come back.
Yep, he had an extra jump medal that, it was, I think, 4. And because they were in the jump zone, it counted, they came back. And he was very, very fortunate because he got up, they were taking his strap, they went in low, and they were all told, don't worry about your second shoot because we're going to be at a low elevation. And when they got over the jump site, minutes away, he taking care of the wounded there, got some shrapnel in him. And the co-pilot came out and says, we're turning around. Tony jumped up and says, we're right here in the jump zone, just another minute or so, throw us out. And he said that he took out his .45, he says, take care of the wounded, we're going back.
Yeah.
When they went back, they all got off the plane to redeploy again, and they checked their equipment, and he would have never made it. All his risers were cut from shrapnel. He was very fortunate.
Yeah. Now, did your dad say anything to you when you got drafted?
No, because I was in South Dakota, and other than that, he knew I got my letter at the house, and they told me I was supposed to report for my physical, and I got a hold of the draft board and told them where I was, and they set it up in South Dakota. And then as soon as I graduated,
and it was a mix-up, right, between Long Island here and South Dakota, right, with your paperwork and everything?
Well, it got there. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. The fact that I was told to report to Sioux Falls at their draft board there and just take the physical. So I took the physical there, and I was passed.
Yeah.
I was probably the only one that passed out of the 5 guys that were there, and I probably filled the quota for South Dakota that day or that month.
Were there a lot of people there?
No, it was only
Not many.
myself and 4 other individuals.
So now you're older. How old are you now at this time?
Now I'm like 21. Yeah, 21. And
you have a college degree behind you.
Exactly. Yep. So,
right. You've been around the corner a little bit,
Yep.
traveling back and forth from Long Island to the West, right?
Yep. And then, like I said,
and were you seen as the old man when you went in?
Well, I was other than the CO, our company commander, I was probably the second oldest in the company. The lieutenants, I was older than them. The platoon sergeants, they were younger than I was. I wound up after a couple of months, I was acting platoon sergeant, acting platoon leader, filling in spots. So,
where did you do your basic?
Basic was at Fort Gordon, Georgia. From there, I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and
was that your infantry?
That was my advanced infantry training, and a big sign out front. Through this threshold comes the future soldiers of Vietnam. So I knew where I was going right away.
What was the feeling when you were told that you were heading over to Vietnam? And what year was that? Was that 69?
69, yep. It was 69. So the feeling is, I just were there, and I made the best of it.
Yeah.
I had, made sure I did the training, made sure I got in shape, because you think you are in shape, but, we got in shape again. And the training was, to me, was probably the best. Didn't realize it then, thought it was like nothing, but they trained you for what you were going to come against, especially in Vietnam.
Did they have seasoned veterans that were combat experienced from Vietnam that came back?
Yeah, most of my sergeants, the training were all, in fact, they were all Vietnam. Then I knew I was going to Vietnam, so I signed up for NCO school and got the term shake and bake as a sergeant. So I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for 12 weeks, trained there every day. So I ran from basic training to NCO school out of the barracks every day. We ran everywhere. So we stayed in good shape. And there's where I really got to understand the military and the meaning of orders and the follow orders and do this and do that. It was good. To me, it was one of the best.
To this day, is there any one thing that you remembered about your training before going over to Vietnam?
They taught you, discipline. They taught you fellowship. They taught you how to work together. Was probably the biggest thing, that you worked as a team and you depended on each other to make it through and to get through some of the hard times. So.
And was it one of those things that came easy to you because you had played a lot of sports and you're always close with your friends and your family, and you like people. You like to speak with people.
To me, I would have to say it came like a natural thing, especially playing sports all those years. And it was unbelievable because you had to know what you were doing. And in one instance, we were on a mission and we were single file. We just got shot up as we came into the LZ. We forced them back out. We set up a perimeter, and then the next day we went back out again, and they ambushed us. And the guy that I was walking rear security with, he pulled his lever back on his M16, and I just yelled, "Hit it," without knowing anything. It was like a reflex, and everybody hit it, and whole place opened up. Yeah. So thank God for that. A lot of guys were saved because of him, not me, but I heard that click go.
Did a lot of that training that you received here stateside, it had to keep you alive?
Oh, it did. It did. Like especially at Fort Benning, we were in training, and we had.
And that place must have been hopping, right?
Oh, it was
Benning, Polk, Gordon, all those places.
Yeah, Fort Polk was hot. It was in the summertime, and there were times when we couldn't even go out. That we were told that we were on a lockdown and just go out by the barracks, sit on the side in the shade, and go through some paperwork. Was
that heat comparable to Vietnam, or was it a different type of heat?
Yeah, it was comparable. It was hot. It's still, you couldn't do much. But in Nam, it was, you didn't really think about the heat. You just did what you had to do and kept going, one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
What was Benning like when you were there?
Benning was, it was business. We all had a barracks. We all had our own desk. And from probably 7 to 9, study hours, we had to be at our desk and, studying for that day and the next day. And that was, everything there was, by the book. And you walked out your door, you had to run anywhere you went.
What were your strengths? You look at your strengths from becoming a sergeant when you were going through that school. What came... not necessarily easy, but what did you...
Teamwork. I'm going to say teamwork and knowledge and listen to detail and follow orders.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing there. And you think you can go against the cadre, the sergeants and stuff. You're wrong because they'd break you down.
Yeah.
They'd break you down.
They had the last laugh, right?
Yeah, and that's what they did. They got you to a point where you were almost broken, but you managed to come through, and that's the feeling you got, and you went forward.
Now, what was some of the things that you found difficult?
I think the most difficult was just being away from home, and the year in Nam. I mean, I was in the field 99% of the time. I mean, they couldn't house everybody in the rear at the base camps. So we'd come in like every 3 to 4 weeks, come in for a hot meal, resupply, take a shower, and watch an outdoor movie. The next night, the next day, we probably on the choppers going back out.
When you were training stateside, you're in 69, so TET was 68, right? But every year there was always an uprising, there was always major attacks.
There was a TET every year.
Every year.
Every year there was a TET.
But 68 was always seen as what? One of the larger,
well, they got them
more coordinated, right?
Right, because they caught everybody by surprise.
Now, did you have veterans from TET in 68 that you saw at places like Benning, Gordon? And Polk?
Yeah, and they kind of more or less, it wasn't like you were with them every day, but we were with our own cadre every day. We did what we had to do with our company. With our training, we restricted the company area. We had programs that we had to go to. It's not like you could walk out at the end of the day and walk down to the PX or the cafeteria or mess hall. We restricted the company area.
Was there any one thing that they stressed? Because now they're coming home after being in South Vietnam in a very hot time period, a very busy time period. Was there one thing that they stressed?
Yeah, to make sure that you had your stuff together.
Yeah.
And follow, orders, follow direction, and learn. Because if you're going over there and you're not paying attention here, you're not going to make it out in the boonies for sure.
Were you a good rifle shot? Did you like shooting a rifle?
Oh, I loved it. I went back about, I don't know how many times when we were qualifying on the range, and finally the DI from the rifle range says, "What are you doing here again?" I said, "I want to get better."
Yeah. And
he laughed. He says, "You're not going to get better." I go, "What do you mean?" Because you only had like 3 shots to pull off with your M16 and a little more, for your 800 yards, 500 yards, whatever. And he says, these M16s, they're so old, not that, they were old, but they got fired so many times.
They were so used, right?
Yeah, because, the barrels were, kind of warped, and they weren't going to get that correct shot out.
Yeah.
So they kicked me out, but we all couldn't wait. We got on the range for the 50 cal, and that's something. We wanted to stay there all day and fire that thing.
Pop, 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 pop,
Oh
pop.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
What other weapons did you?
We had
specialize? Did you use small arms?
Small arms, the 45. That ticked me off because you were probably 10, 15 yards, and you had the 45. You couldn't even hit it.
Yeah.
You couldn't hit the target. That's how, it was heavy, and you weren't used to it. And they wouldn't let you keep shooting it, but they had so many rounds in the chamber. And that was a little tough. We had the M79 grenade launcher. That was a weapon I liked because once you shot the round, it was I think it was a 5mm round in there, and it went bloop, and it was like a grenade.
Yeah.
It'd go out, and you could see it up in the air. It was a high trajectory, and it would go the distance you had because you could check.
You felt that little pop, right?
Pop, that's it, and it was like boop, and it was pretty good. But you couldn't really. I don't know how I saw some guys walking point with it, but it won't blow up until after 5 or 8 meters. So I had to do so many rotations. So if you were close in and you were trying to shoot somebody or blow somebody up, it wasn't going to blow them.
Were there specialists who were able to handle all these different types of weapons that gave you advice?
Oh yeah, because we sat and we had classes. We actually sat in stands out in the woods somewhere. They had these big bleachers, covered bleachers, and most of them were rangers in Fort Polk. Not Fort Polk, but Fort Benning, and they went through everything with the book, telling you what to do. And we had different classes like that. We had map reading and compass course, and that was hilarious. I did that we did the compass course in Fort Polk.
Was that in the swamps and everything?
Yeah, it was in the woods. The Dukes and a Half, the whole company went out. They had us in our platoons and squads, and I happened to be they teamed us up with another individual, and I was with one of the guys in my platoon. And they give you a map, a chart, and directions. Go 50 meters and go northwest at this azimuth and this azimuth. And they said if there's going to be things in the trees, B's, A's, 1s, and it'll tell you this is where you go. And then from that point, you do 20 yards this way and give you the azimuth again. And if you get lost, just circle and you'll find your spot. Well, we got lost. And we sat down to take a rest. We knew we were on a dirt road, and we shouldn't have been that far according to the map. So we took a break. We fell asleep, and all we heard were all the Deuce and a Halves in the company, and beeping their horns. So we charged to the sound of the horns, and we got out there. The 200 and something guys were cheering us, going crazy, and the captain, all the officers weren't happy because we were delaying everything. And when we got there, they said, "What the hell happened? We don't know."
Yeah.
But the guys my platoon and ahead of us, they always jokesters, they moved the sign on us.
Oh, they changed things around, so you didn't get an accurate.
We didn't get an accurate read, so we were like 10 meters up to the east, and it should have been right there.
Yeah.
And we walked and couldn't find anything, and it kept getting worse. So that was something. But that's what they do. I mean, it was hilarious. But then you learn. You got to make sure you're accurate. You got to know what you're doing. Well, we knew we were off, but not like that.
Now, when you were out there, and I asked you about the weather, I mean, you must have shed pounds.
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
I mean, it was like 100 degrees at Fort Polk. It was hot,
humid, right?
Yep, it was very hot there. In fact, the night we processed in, the bus took us to our company area. It was only 2 of us getting off at the stop that my platoon was in, and we got off there and our dress. We just got soaking wet. It was 12 o'clock at night.
Now, when you were there, did you get any liberties or anything like that? What was the closest town to Polk?
The closest town to Polk was Leesville. Our first formation with the company, our captain says, "You're probably not going to be able to get a pass. You won't. And if you are lucky to get one, I recommend you don't go out. You don't go into Leesville because it was a hellhole there." And
Yeah, it's ironic. Some of the places around the military bases don't necessarily like the.
And I did get a pass.
Don't necessarily like the military veterans, right?
Yeah. Well, I got a pass. I was in the battalion at the end of our training. I was supposed to be in a wrestling tournament there, and because I wrestled, and they didn't have enough wrestlers, so they put me in boxing and heavyweight. Even though I was in shape in this, but I was still heavy.
Yeah.
But these guys, I choked when they all said, so and so, Chicago, Illinois, Golden Glove, 19 this, that, and the other thing, so and so, New York City,
Yeah, Golden Gloves.
Golden Glove. They all boxed. So I got in there with a guy.
Little bit different than a tough Italian kid from Farmingdale, right?
I did an Abbott and Costello. I ran around the ring.
Try to tire him out, right?
Yeah. I did knock him down, but that was it. And I didn't get, because I ran too much, I guess I didn't get.
All right.
I didn't get the win. It was a decision.
So now you go to NCO school after,
right from Fort Polk.
and then you graduate NCO school.
Yeah.
Are you able to go home?
Actually, they sent us to Fort Jackson as sergeants for a couple of weeks at a training, for their
Like an enhanced training?
No, it was we pushed the troops out. They were in their
basic training.
They were basic training. So we were assist the actual platoon sergeant, and we moved them around the post. And
Did you wear a drill sergeant hat there?
no, we didn't wear drill sergeant, but we had our uniforms on, sergeant stripes, and we took charge. Actually, it was. I had a floor with my platoon, and I was the sergeant that was in charge on that floor, and just made sure everything was right.
Yeah.
Guys took off their boots; they didn't go in because you had to make sure everything was spotless, and you didn't want to bring your shoes in there and get them all the floors dirty. So you kept everything spotless in there. Then from there, I had
make sure the counts were correct, right? That people were.
Yeah, I had.
They didn't take off, right?
Yep. And
Did you have any encounters with? Because these are all young privates from all over the country.
Yep.
They don't. That's what people don't understand. It's like if you really want to see a melting pot, you go into a basic training.
Yep. It's all.
It's not only
all over.
it's not only race, ethnic group, religion, but geography as well.
Yeah.
Right. Did you come across something that's still today that makes you laugh?
Oh, actually, we processed in when I left New York City to get on the buses to go down to. They put us at Fort Jackson for 2 days. We processed in there, and they had us on a sidewalk. And it was like the buildings in Fort Jackson were like dormitories. They were new, and it's a big sidewalk, and it had a couple hundred guys there, and they had us in They had us in a line, and they said, "Okay, everybody take 3 steps forward." And once they said that, they said, "All right, whatever you have in your pockets, I want them on the floor, on the ground in front of you, like knives and this and that, any kind of weapon." And you hear, "Go, okay, take 1 step back," and you could see everything lined up. Everybody that emptied their pockets, and then he goes, "Anybody from New York, stand your position. All others, take 1 step back." So then we were in the middle. And he says, "All the guys from New York, empty your pockets. And if you don't empty your pockets, we're going to come and check them anyway. So you better empty them. We don't want to find nothing in your pockets."
They saw you guys as the biggest troublemakers?
So then they said, all you heard was click, click, clank, clank. Take 1 step back. There was more weapons on that line than there were in the whole
But
thing.
knives, a lot of knives.
Knives and small knives and different knuckles and different things. So yeah, but they knew. I mean, I guess from experience, they all knew. So that was funny. Yeah.
Do you still keep in touch with any guys from?
It's hard. It's hard because I was in different camps training. Everything changed. Like there was a couple of guys that I went with right through basic training. Fort Polk, and even at Fort Benning. One was from Staten Island, the other one was from the island here, from Whitestone. And he moved to Smithtown. I managed to keep up with him a little bit, but he passed away about 4 years ago. The gentleman in Staten Island. I couldn't get his address. I didn't know, but they weren't with me. They were there in my area of operation in Nam with a different company.
Now you leave Fort Jackson, right? Do you get a chance to go home, or do you?
Yeah. They gave me like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So the two guys that I just mentioned, one had his he had a GTO convertible. He had it there. He couldn't get his car, and he had his car. And we drove down to Florida. It was just after Easter break. We stayed down there a few days, and we came back home.
Is that 69 or 70?
That's 69.
69.
Yeah. Actually, no, that was 70.
70, early 1970,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was the Easter. I'm not sure now. 70 Easter, yeah.
Now, you go home. Did you have a weird feeling?
Well, we went home. The guy from Staten Island says, "What are you doing? There's nobody around. Everybody's in school. Anybody I knew." He says, "I'm flying down tomorrow."
Guys are working. They're in the service.
Yeah, there's nobody around. So he says, "Why don't you? I'm going to the airport tomorrow at JFK. I got a flight going down to Fort Lauderdale. You want to go?" I said, "I'll meet you there. I'll see you at the airport."
Sure.
We went back down. My mother was not happy. But, I spent another 4 or 5 days down there and came back. Then
you're a young guy.
Yeah.
You're in uniform.
Yeah.
You know you're going overseas.
Yeah,
right?
you didn't have to pay then either. If you flew in your uniform, you flew first class if it was open. So that was nice.
Did you have a weird feeling? Kind of.
Well,
they give you a couple of weeks. That's a long.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of idle time.
Yeah, well,
too.
that's why when we went back to Florida, it ate up a lot of the time. We were in the sun, enjoying ourselves and stuff like that.
You didn't think about it as much.
Didn't think about it, right? Yeah.
All right, so we're going to come back with another episode here on hmTV with the Fog of War and Humanity with Sergeant Joseph A. Cognitore, and we're going to get into his time serving in the later part of the Vietnam War and his moments not only in South Vietnam but in Cambodia.